Folks, welcome back to Lakers Latest. It is July 30th in Studio City. It is about 77 degrees out right now. It's going to be a little toasty today, probably up to 85. Going to be very hot, sunny all day. So make sure you're drinking water. Make sure you're staying inside. The AC's on. You're not getting too toasty and just enjoying that LA summer. But these are just some things that happen with it. But yeah, let's hop right into it. Let's go to the first thing on the docket today. Daryl Morey. Let me just come out and say, this dude is a freaking loser. Loser. Long time NBA executive, considered for a while to be one of, I would probably say, the top 3, top 5 executives in the NBA. Did a great job with the Rockets, traded for Harden, did all that. Then he went to Philly. That's been probably less than desired how he's done there. The Sixers were obviously an unmitigated disaster last year. Daryl Morey, you want to talk about, the Lakers championship doesn't matter. You signed Paul George to a 4-year deal at the age of 33, and he got hurt the first year. It was the most predictable thing I've ever seen. Sorry, I'm just irritated. Anyway, let's talk into it. So basically, Daryl Morey said that the Lakers' 2020 championship run is always going to be marked with an asterisk. Because that's the way the league sees it. It was obviously the bubble championship. Things were so different. Let me just come out and say it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. First of all, he followed that up by saying that there was an asterisk that if the Rockets had won, he would have celebrated it like a legit championship, and they would have really enjoyed it like a legit championship. But he still feels there always being an asterisk on it. First of all, don't worry, Daryl. You don't have to do that because you didn't win. You got absolutely slaughtered by the Lakers. So don't worry, buddy. You don't have to celebrate an NBA championship. And with the way the Sixers are looking, you're not going to have to celebrate an NBA championship for a very long time, probably never. So first of all, take a deep breath, big boy. You're not going to have to worry about that. You're not good enough to get it done. You never were. Second of all, y'all got smoked by the Lakers, 4-1. You lost. Let me pull up the chronology here. You guys lost almost every game. We have first game, 112. Rockets won game 1, 112 to 97. Beat the Lakers. Started off great. Oh, we're gonna beat the Lakers. We're looking good. Then game 2, they lost 117 to 109. Game 3, they lost 112 to 102. Game 4, 110 to 100. Game 5, 119 to 96. Asterisk, please. Maybe you shouldn't have played like hot garbage. Maybe you should have acquired a superstar, not like James Harden, who would actually show up in the playoffs when it mattered. Like, I don't know, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, when healthy. Obviously, I understand that's not too much. But those guys, if you want to be mad because you built your team around a fat bum who is a regular season grifter and James Harden doesn't show up in the biggest games, go ahead. Good for you, dude. Congratulations. You signed Chris Paul. You lost the Warriors. You couldn't even make it. You didn't even have a single finals run with James Harden. You built your entire team around him. You didn't even have a single finals run. You got smoked by the Lakers in the playoffs. Lost 4 straight games that year. Don't come out here and be like, oh, there's an asterisk on it. There wouldn't be an asterisk on it if you won. So give me a damn break. I'm just sick and tired of hearing this stuff. It's been the first time we've heard this in a while. It's not a new thought. People have been saying this for a minute, but it just drives me crazy. Like, if you want to talk about the 2020 championship, maybe you should have won it. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten smoked by the Lakers. Maybe you should have come up with better roster decisions. So why don't you sit and think about that one, Daryl, while your Sixers are in hell because you don't know what the hell you're doing anymore. All right, let's transition to talk about that 2020 championship. So the thing that bothers me about that is everyone's like, oh, there's an asterisk. It doesn't count. It's the bubble championship. Like, the Lakers were at a disadvantage. The Lakers' biggest advantage, naturally, as being that one of those top seeds, would be home court advantage, right? Have the fans there going crazy, doing this, hyping up the players, getting the energy up, doing all that. Jack Nicholson, Celebrity Row, all that. There were no fans. This was the 2020 bubble. They just played by themselves. So the fact that there were no fans, that's a huge disadvantage, especially to a team like the Lakers, who has one of the largest fan bases in professional sports anywhere, basketball, NBA, soccer. That is such a disadvantage. On top of that, Avery Bradley got hurt. That's another disadvantage. One of your best defenders gets hurt. You have to figure that out. I'm just sick and tired of people talking about the bubble championship like it was easier somehow, or it doesn't matter as much. Those games are harder. Like when you have that distinct advantage of home court advantage, right? And you have some of the best fans in the world, fans that go crazy, and you don't have that at your disposal, that's not an advantage. Like you don't have those fans hyping you up. You don't have that atmosphere and all that. And then you have other guys get hurt. Like it was, if anything, more difficult. The Lakers had to go. You didn't have that home court advantage. You didn't have all those crazy fans on the roads. The same thing for everyone. It was harder for everyone. I'm going to be very clear about this. It's not just harder for the Lakers. It was harder for everyone. Road games, home games were significantly harder because no one had fans to hype them up. No one had that atmosphere. It was a different atmosphere. But to sit there and say, oh, there's an asterisk. Everyone was playing under those conditions, Daryl. Everyone was. This wasn't just the Lakers. Everyone was dealing with those difficulties. And the Lakers found a way to make it work. They found a way. Vogel coach great. Rotations, do this. It doesn't matter if it's a bubble championship. There's differences. Everyone has to work with the difficulties of the bubble. And the Lakers made it work, and they won a championship. They beat the round one. They beat the... Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to find this. Here we go. Round one. Beat the Blazers 4-1. Round two. Beat the Rockets, Daryl, 4-1. Round three. Beat the Nuggets 4-1. Feels like the last time they beat the Nuggets, to be completely honest with you, because the Nuggets have kind of owned them the next 4 years. But hey, we got that one. Beat Jokic. We did what we needed to do. Then you play the Heat. Obviously, that was the crazy Jimmy insane run to the finals. You beat them 4-2. You lost a total of 5 playoff games. You went 16-5. So I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to hear, oh, the 2020 championship doesn't matter. Yes, it does. It was probably more difficult when you don't have those fans. And honestly, I'm just sick and tired of this narrative that's being created like, oh, there's an asterisk. Everyone was dealing with those difficult conditions, not just the Lakers. The Lakers found a way to make it work. Sorry if that hurts everyone's feelings, but that's the truth. Everyone had an equal chance to win that championship, and the Lakers outplayed everyone, and that's just the reality of the situation. So I'm just tired of hearing it. Let's put that to bed. Daryl, go back into whatever hole you crawl out of. Go ahead. I hope you have a good day, but shut up. You lost. You don't have any right to talk. Point blank, period. Shut your mouth, buddy. Okay? All right, let's move into the next step, which is what player needs to be numb. All right, so the reality is the Lakers, I kind of look at it, they have a little extra baggage. Some guys who have a little bit, are getting paid a little bit too much and aren't really contributing. Gabe Vincent. Sorry, my throat. But I kind of look at guys on this team. Gabe Vincent, obviously, in hindsight, that's been a brutal signing. He has not been close to effective or really brought anything to the table. He's been hurt all the time. Really gives a lot of credence to that Heat voodoo magic, because I remember when they made the finals, he looked like the greatest shooter of all time. He looked like Steph Curry, couldn't miss, was having monster performance after monster performance. With the Lakers, stinks. Then we have Jared Vanderbilt, who, again, Vincent's getting made $11 million a year. Vanderbilt gets made $10.7. Now, Vanderbilt is a guy that I definitely still have hope in. I mean, we saw when he was healthy, he's a really good rebounder. He's an energy guy. He's a really good defender. He does bring a lot of things to the table when healthy. He's obviously just had serious issues with his health. So for him, I don't expect him to be a guy you get rid of, because I think the hope would be that if he can stay healthy, he can definitely be a contributor. Then we have Kleba at $11 million. Again, he's 33 years old at this point. He's not a guy that's, we know what he is. He's a good shooter, decent rebounder, but nothing too special. I think he's a guy that $11 million is just way too much for him. I mean, if you can dump him to maybe open up more flexibility, whether that be now for taking on someone with a contract like Wiggins, or giving yourself more flexibility at the deadline, I think that's something that you have to certainly consider. The difficulty right now is the fact that no one has cap space. So it's going to be hard to dump any contract. But I think those are 3 guys that combine $31 million and you're getting practically nothing from them. So I think one of those guys could be on the way out. If anyone, it would probably be Vincent, would be my guess. But I am definitely looking to Vanderbilt to be a guy that hopefully gets back to contributing. Obviously, he's had those injury history, but when healthy, which hasn't been a lot lately, he is a talented player who I think can be a solid role player on a championship team, on a good team. So hopefully he's healthy and he can be the guy that kind of steps up from those 3. But if anyone you are going to get rid of, I would say it probably ends up being Gabe Vincent. All right, so let's move to final thing on the docket today, which is final roster spots. So I can't. I have to look into whether how many specific roster spots they have left, but I think at this point you're kind of just looking at maybe veterans who could step in a pinch. Maybe they won't be expected to be big time role players on the team, but guys that have proven they can play in roles before and be solid players. Who, if guys get injured, they can step up. You just want to make sure that you have veterans and you have legitimate guys at the end of the bench who maybe that they're not coming in and expecting to get minutes right away or get big minutes, but guys that if they get hurt, you're not going to be throwing in a second round draft pick rookie. Not to say that Thiero can't contribute, because I think he can, but I think it's important to have veterans on the bench that can just hop in a pinch. Guys that have proven they can play in this league before, and they're not stars, role players. Maybe they're a little bit older. But I just think it's important to have those guys. So a couple guys I kind of squared up. Amir Coffey obviously played for the Clippers. He's a pretty good shooter. Decent player, to be completely honest. I'm surprised that he hasn't signed yet. He's proven to be a decent role player in this league and a guy that can definitely hop in a pinch. So he's someone I would consider. Malcolm Brogdon, a little bit older, but a guy that's proven throughout his time in the league he can be a solid player. Was a very good starter at some points. Won 6th Man of the Year with the Celtics. Obviously, coming off an injured year with the Wizards. His numbers don't look great, but no one's numbers are going to look great when you're playing for the Wizards. It's almost like franchise hell. You know what I mean? So he's definitely a guy that I think if healthy can definitely contribute in a pinch. I also think that if you do decide to start Austin Reeves, he's a guy that can definitely help run the second unit with Marcus Smart. So he's a guy I would certainly consider. Chris Boucher, another big man. Actually, I don't think he signed with anyone yet, but another big man who can definitely help, definitely pop in. Is a good defensive player. Is a good shot blocker, can shoot. Little older, also has had injury history. But again, at this point, when you're looking at those last roster spots, you're just looking at guys that contribute, guys that can pop it in a pinch. So I think those are 3 guys. And then the last guy would be Gary Payton, too. Obviously, a great defensive player. Offensively, you're not signing him to bring a ton to the table offensively, but can drive to the basket, can hit the occasional 3. Just a solid role player and a guy that you're going to put out on the court and is going to give you solid defensive minutes with occasionally contributing on offense. But yeah, look, they got to try and get someone with NBA experience, someone who they can trust if they need to throw them in the fire. And I think all 4 of those guys are guys that would be pretty good fits for one of the last roster spots. So again, the offseason's not done yet. There's going to be guys that Rob tries to trade for, whether it be Wiggins or someone else, Drew Holiday that we haven't thought about. But there's going to be options, but they're going to need to fill out the roster with vets, and I think any one of those 4 guys would be a solid fit. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, a lot of offseason left. I do expect them to make another trade at some point. So yeah, we will keep an eye on it. But that's all I got for today, folks. Everyone stay inside, don't get too hot, and enjoy your day. Till next time.